Hello guys, welcome to Ben 10 What If. So in this video, we will see what if Kevin absorbed the Omnitrix and Ben became the villain. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 2, Power Struggle. Kevin, on your left. Kevin ducked as a blast of energy scorched the air where his head had been a second earlier. Without looking, he transformed his left arm into Heatblast's flaming appendage and shot a fireball in the direction of the attack. A satisfying yelp told him he'd hit his target. Nice shot, Gwen said, her hands glowing with mana as she created a shield around a group of civilians caught in the crossfire. I'm getting better at this whole team thing, Kevin replied with a grin that was half cocky, half genuine. 3 months had changed a lot. The stabilizer Max had given him now had company on his wrist, a sleek plumber badge that marked him as a temporary deputy. Not quite an agent, definitely not a prisoner. Something in between that even Kevin himself couldn't quite define. The alien they were fighting, a spiky creature with energy projection abilities, snarled and prepared another attack. Kevin didn't give it the chance. He transformed fully into XLR-8, zipped behind it, then quickly shifted to forearms and locked the alien in a tight hold. Gotcha, Kevin said, his voice deeper in forearms form. Now how about you calm down so we can talk about why you're shooting up a shopping mall? The alien responded by trying to headbutt Kevin, its spikes narrowly missing his face. Fine. Hard way it is. Kevin increased the pressure of his hold until the alien went limp. Gwen, got those containment cuffs? Gwen jogged over, pulling specialized cuffs from her belt. Her outfit had changed too, more practical than her regular clothes, with reinforced panels and utility pouches. Not quite a uniform, but close enough. Third one this week, she said as she secured the alien's limbs. They're getting bolder. Or more desperate, Kevin suggested, reverting to human form. The green lines that had once only appeared when he transformed were now a permanent feature, circuitry-like patterns tracing across his skin in a way that no ordinary clothing could hide. He'd stopped trying, instead wearing a customized jacket with circuit pattern designs that made the real ones on his skin look like part of the fashion statement. Max Tennyson approached, holstering his blaster. Good work, both of you. His eyes lingered on the subdued alien. Gontiloid mercenary. Definitely not a random troublemaker. Let me guess, Kevin said. Another bounty hunter after the Omnitrix. Likely, Max nodded. Word has spread throughout the galaxy about what happened. An Omnitrix merged with human DNA is valuable to certain parties. Kevin rubbed the stabilizer on his wrist, now modified with plumber tech to better regulate the Omnitrix energy. Yeah, well, they can get in line. Pretty sure your grandson still has first dibs on trying to rip it out of me. The mention of Ben caused a shadow to pass over both Max and Gwen's faces. Ben hadn't been seen in Bellwood for 2 months, not since his failed attempt with the neural disruptor. But reports had surfaced, a teenager matching his description, dealing with increasingly dangerous alien tech dealers, spotted in cities across the country. Any word? Kevin asked, his voice softer than he intended. Gwen shook her head. Nothing new. The last confirmed sighting was in Seattle, but that was 2 weeks ago. He'll be back, Max said with certainty. Ben wouldn't stay away from Bellwood forever. Especially not with you here, Kevin. Kevin frowned. Great. Something to look forward to. Plumber agents arrived to take the alien into custody. Kevin watched them work with a mixture of fascination and lingering suspicion. 3 months ago, he would have been the one in cuffs. Now he was helping put the cuffs on others. Life had a weird way of flipping things around. We should get back to headquarters, Max suggested. I want to question this one personally when it wakes up. Kevin nodded and followed Max toward the plumber vehicles parked outside the mall. He paused when he noticed Gwen wasn't with them. Gwen. You coming? She stood motionless, eyes closed, a faint pink glow surrounding her hands. Gwen. Kevin moved back toward her, concerned. Her eyes snapped open, the pink glow fading. Something's wrong. What do you mean? Max asked, instantly alert. I don't know exactly. It's like. Gwen frowned, struggling to articulate what she'd sensed. A disturbance. Something powerful just entered Earth's atmosphere. Kevin and Max exchanged worried looks. Gwen's magical sensitivity had grown exponentially over the past months, developing in ways none of them fully understood. But she'd never been wrong yet. Can you tell where? Max asked. Gwen pointed east, toward the mountains outside Bellwood. There. And it's big, Grandpa. Really big. Max pulled out his plumber communicator. I'll alert headquarters, get a team out there to investigate. No time, Gwen said, her expression grave. Whatever it is, it's moving fast. Coming this way. Kevin flexed his hands, feeling the OMNITRIX energy stir beneath his skin. Then I guess we'd better go say hello. The abandoned quarry outside Bellwood showed clear signs of a crash landing, scorched earth, broken trees, and a deep gouge in the ground leading to a smoking metallic object half buried in the quarry wall. But it wasn't a ship, as they'd expected. Is that a pod? Gwen asked as they approached cautiously. Escape pod, Max confirmed, scanner in hand. And still hot from atmospheric entry. Kevin transformed his right arm into Diamondhead's crystalline form, ready for trouble. Anything alive in there? Max checked his scanner. One life sign. Weak but stable. As if responding to his words, the pod hissed open. Smoke billowed out, obscuring whatever was inside. Then a massive shape emerged, staggering slightly as it stepped onto Earth soil. Whoa, Kevin breathed, instinctively taking a step back. The alien stood nearly 9 feet tall, its body covered in what looked like natural armor plating, deep purple with glowing blue lines running between the plates. Its face was humanoid but with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, all glowing the same blue as the lines on its body. Petrosapien warrior, Max whispered, his hand moving to his blaster. The alien swayed, then dropped to one knee, breathing heavily. Blue fluid, blood, Kevin realized, seeped from a wound in its side. It's injured, Gwen said, starting forward. Max grabbed her arm. Careful. Petrosapien warriors are among the most dangerous fighters in the galaxy. The alien's 4 eyes fixed on them. Plumbers, it rumbled, its voice deep and resonant despite its obvious weakness. Good. I seek asylum. Asylum? Max repeated, clearly surprised. From what? Not what. Who? The alien tried to stand again but fell back to its knees. The huntsman comes. He must not find what I carry. Kevin noticed for the first time that the alien clutched something against its chest, a small container of some sort, glowing with the same blue energy as the lines on its body. Who's the huntsman? Kevin asked. The alien's gaze shifted to Kevin, all 4 eyes widening. The OMNITRIX. You carry it, but differently. Long story, Kevin replied. Looks like you've got a longer one, though. No time, the alien insisted. The huntsman tracked me through 7 systems. He will have followed my pod. Max stepped forward. We can offer protection, but we need to know what we're dealing with. Who is this huntsman, and what's in that container? The alien seemed to consider for a moment, then nodded slowly. I am Tetrax, former warrior of the Petrosapien homeworld. The huntsman is a collector of weapons, technologies, species. What I carry is. A deafening boom interrupted him as something else entered the atmosphere, streaking across the sky like a comet before crashing a mile away, the impact shaking the ground beneath their feet. He is here, Tetrax said grimly, struggling to his feet. We must move. Now. HQ is closest, Max decided, helping steady the injured alien. We can get you medical attention and secure whatever you're carrying. Tetrax shook his head. No facilities. The huntsman will expect that. Need somewhere, unexpected. I know a place, Kevin said suddenly. My old hideout. Abandoned auto shop on the edge of town. No one's been there in months. Gwen looked skeptical. Is that really secure enough? It's the last place anyone would look for a plumber operation, Kevin pointed out. And I added some modifications before I left. It's not exactly high-tech, but it's off the grid. Max considered briefly. It might work, at least temporarily. Let's move before the huntsman picks up Tetrax's trail. They helped Tetrax to the plumber vehicle, the massive alien barely fitting in the back. As they pulled away, Kevin glanced back at the distant crash site, where a plume of smoke was now rising into the sky. So, Tetrax, Kevin said, turning to their injured passenger. What exactly did you steal that's got this huntsman so worked up? Tetrax clutched the container tighter. Not stole. Rescued. He hesitated, then added, it is called the Genesis seed. Last of its kind. The huntsman would use it to create weapons. I could not allow that. Genesis seed? Gwen repeated. What does it do? It creates, Tetrax said simply. Whatever DNA it is exposed to, it can replicate and evolve. In the right hands, it could restore extinct species, heal genetic defects. In the wrong hands. Let me guess, Kevin said. Instant alien army. Tetrax nodded gravely. The huntsman has collected DNA from 1,000 warrior species. With the seed, he could create an unstoppable force. Max's grip tightened on the steering wheel. And now he's on Earth. Yes, Tetrax confirmed. But he hunts me, not your world. Once I am gone, he will follow. Kevin exchanged a look with Gwen. Something about Tetrax's story didn't quite add up. Why come to Earth at all if he had a dangerous hunter on his tail? Before Kevin could voice his suspicion, the vehicle's communication system beeped urgently. The face of a plumber agent appeared on the screen. Magister Tennyson. We have a situation at headquarters. We're under attack. Attack? Max's voice sharpened. By what? Not what, sir. Who? The agent glanced fearfully over his shoulder. It's Ben Tennyson. And he's not alone. The plumber headquarters beneath Bellwood was in chaos when they arrived. Alarms blared, emergency lights flashed, and agents rushed through corridors with weapons drawn. Max led them to the command center, where surveillance feeds showed the extent of the attack. Ben Tennyson stood in the central hangar, surrounded by what looked like mercenaries, a mix of humans with advanced tech and aliens of various species. But it was Ben himself who drew Kevin's attention. Gone was the scrawny kid with the oversized watch. This Ben looked harder, older somehow, despite only 3 months passing. He wore a sleek, tech-enhanced suit of armor, glowing with power along seams that reminded Kevin uncomfortably of the energy lines on his own skin. What is he wearing? Gwen asked, horror in her voice. Hybrid tech, Max said grimly. Part Techodon, part something else I don't recognize. He's after the plumber weapons vault, reported an agent manning the security station. They've already breached 2 security checkpoints. Kevin watched Ben on the screen, directing his mercenaries with confident gestures. This wasn't a kid lashing out. This was a coordinated attack with a specific goal. I need to talk to him, Gwen insisted. Too dangerous, Max shook his head. That's not the Ben we know anymore, Gwen. He's still my cousin, Gwen countered. If anyone can reach him, I can. Kevin placed a hand on her shoulder. Gwen, look at him. He brought an army to attack Plumber HQ. He's not here to talk. On screen, Ben turned toward a security camera, as if looking directly at them. His expression was cold, calculating. Then he raised a gauntlet hand and fired, destroying the camera and cutting the feed. "We need to stop him before he reaches the vault," Max decided. "Gwen, coordinate with the defense teams. Kevin, help secure Tetrax and the Genesis seed in the medical bay." "No," Kevin said firmly. "I'm going after Ben." Max's eyebrows shot up. "Kevin, this is about me, isn't it? He's here because he knows I'm working with you. He's escalating because of the Omnitrix." Kevin's eyes hardened. "I need to face him." Max and Gwen exchanged concerned looks. "He's not wrong, Grandpa," Gwen finally said. "Ben won't stop until he confronts Kevin." Max sighed heavily. "Fine. But not alone. Gwen goes with you. I'll secure Tetrax and coordinate the defense." Kevin nodded, already feeling the Omnitrix energy humming beneath his skin, ready for battle. Part of him, a part he wasn't proud of, had been waiting for this confrontation. Ben had tried to shoot him in the back 3 months ago. It was time to face each other head-on. "Let's go," Kevin said to Gwen. "Time to see just how far your cousin has fallen." The central hangar was a battlefield. Plumber agents exchanged fire with Ben's mercenaries from behind makeshift barriers. Equipment lay damaged or destroyed, and the massive hangar doors had been forcibly breached, hanging from twisted hinges. Kevin and Gwen entered from an upper level, giving them a clear view of the chaos below. Ben stood in the center of it all, protected by a personal energy shield projected from his armor. He was working on a security panel, clearly trying to override the vault access. "There," Kevin pointed. "I'll go in from the left, you from the right. Catch him in a crossfire of—" "No," Gwen cut him off. "I need to try talking to him first. Gwen, he's got a small army with him. This isn't the time for a family reunion. Just give me a chance," she pleaded. "Cover me if things go wrong." Kevin wanted to argue further, but the determination in Gwen's eyes stopped him. "Fine. One chance. But if he so much as points a weapon at you, I'm going in hard." Gwen nodded and moved to the railing. "Ben," she called down, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. All action seemed to freeze for a moment. Ben looked up, his expression unreadable behind a partial face shield. Then, slowly, he raised his hand to remove the shield, revealing features that were familiar yet changed, harder, more angular, with a coldness in his eyes that had never been there before. "Gwen," he acknowledged, voice carrying easily through the sudden quiet. "I was wondering when you'd show up." "What are you doing, Ben?" she asked, hands gripping the railing. "These are plumbers. They're the good guys. You're attacking your own grandfather's headquarters." Ben's lips twisted in a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Funny how perspectives change, isn't it? 3 months ago, I was the hero and Kevin was the villain. Now he's playing deputy, and I'm—" He spread his arms, indicating the destruction around him. "Adapting." "This isn't adapting," Gwen argued. "This is insanity. You're working with mercenaries, attacking the people who've always supported you." "Supported me?" Ben's voice hardened. "When Kevin stole the Omnitrix, did they help me get it back?" "No. They recruited him instead." He pointed accusingly up at Kevin, who had moved to stand beside Gwen. "They gave the thief a badge while I was left with nothing." Kevin felt a surge of anger. "You tried to shoot me in the back with a neural disruptor. And I'd do it again." Ben shouted. "The Omnitrix was mine. It chose me." "Ben, please," Gwen's voice cracked with emotion. "Come home. We can figure this out together, as a family." For just a moment, something flickered across Ben's face, a glimpse of the boy he'd once been. Then it was gone, replaced by cold determination. "I'm not coming home without the Omnitrix," he said flatly. "Kevin, this is your one chance. Give it up willingly, and no one else gets hurt." Kevin barked out a laugh. You don't get it, do you? It's not a watch anymore. It's part of me. There's nothing to give up. We'll see about that. Ben pressed a button on his gauntlet, and his mercenaries immediately focused their fire on Kevin and Gwen's position. Kevin transformed instantly into Diamond Head, the crystalline form deflecting energy blasts while Gwen erected a mana shield in front of them both. So much for talking. Kevin shouted over the noise of weapons fire. I had to try. Gwen yelled back, eyes glowing as she strengthened her shield. Kevin formed his arm into a blade and sliced through the railing. I'm going down there. Cover me. He leapt from the upper level, body shifting mid-air to XLR8's form for speed before impacting the ground in Forearm's stronger body. Mercenaries scattered as he landed with a ground-shaking thud. Just you and me now, Tennyson. Kevin called, straightening up to his full forearm's height. Ben faced him without flinching, his armored suit humming with power. You have no idea what I've become, Kevin. Enlighten me. Kevin charged forward, all four arms ready to strike. Ben waited until the last second, then activated something in his suit. Energy pulsed outward in a concussive wave that hit Kevin like a truck, sending him flying backward into a stack of supply crates. Kevin groaned, shifting back to human form momentarily from the impact. The green energy lines on his skin pulsed erratically. 3 months is a long time, Ben said, walking calmly toward him. I've been busy. Kevin pushed himself up, spitting blood. Yeah. Doing what, exactly? Shopping for evil overlord outfits. Ben ignored the jab. Learning. Adapting. Building. He held up his gauntlet hand, which now glowed with an unsettlingly familiar green energy. Creating alternatives. Kevin's eyes widened as he recognized that energy. Is that OMNITRIX energy? A small sample, yes. Synthesized from residual traces left during your transformation. Ben smiled coldly. Turns out when you absorbed the OMNITRIX, you left an energy signature. Trackable. Harvestable. Kevin transformed again, this time into a hybrid form, Heat Blast's upper body with XLR8's legs. Not as good as the real thing, though, is it? Not yet, Ben conceded. But that's why I'm here. He pointed to a massive vault door at the far end of the hangar. The plumbers have something I need to complete my work. A quantum amplifier. Not gonna happen. Kevin unleashed a stream of fire from his hands, forcing Ben to activate his shield again. The shield held, but Ben was pushed back by the intensity of the flames. His mercenaries moved to intervene, but Ben waved them off. Stay. On mission, he ordered. Get to the vault. Kevin pressed his advantage, shifting to Diamond Head and launching crystal shards that peppered Ben's shield, searching for weaknesses. One shard found a gap, grazing Ben's arm and drawing blood. Ben hissed in pain but didn't falter. Instead, he pressed another control on his gauntlet. The green energy pulsed brighter, and to Kevin's shock, Ben's arm transformed, not fully, but enough to recognize the distinctive pattern of Diamond Head's crystalline structure. Surprised? Ben asked, his partially transformed arm deflecting Kevin's next volley of crystal shards. Like I said, I've been busy. Kevin stared in disbelief. You're insane. That tech is killing you. Look at it. The transformation was indeed unstable, the crystalline structure flickering and cracking along Ben's arm. But Ben seemed unconcerned. Worth it, he said through gritted teeth. The pain is temporary. Power is forever. From above, Gwen launched mana bolts at the mercenaries trying to breach the vault, keeping them at bay. Kevin. We need backup. I can't hold them all. Kevin glanced up, torn between continuing his fight with Ben and helping Gwen. Ben seized the moment of distraction, charging forward with surprising speed and landing a crystalline fist directly in Kevin's solar plexus. Kevin doubled over, the impact driving the air from his lungs. Ben followed with an uppercut that sent Kevin sprawling. "You don't deserve the Omnitrix," Ben spat, standing over him. "You never did." Kevin rolled away from another attack, transforming into XLR-8 to put distance between them. "And you think you still do? Look at yourself, Tennyson. You're attacking your own family. They chose you over me." Ben shouted, real pain breaking through his cold facade. "My own grandfather gave you a plumber badge while hunting me like a criminal. Because you became one." Kevin shot back, zipping around Ben in a blur of speed. "You crossed the line, not them." Ben's face contorted with rage. He slammed both fists into the ground, sending out another concussive wave that caught even XLR-8 speed, knocking Kevin off his feet. Before Kevin could recover, Ben was on him, a new device in hand, something that looked like a high-tech syringe. "I was going to wait until I had the amplifier," Ben said, pressing the device against Kevin's neck where the green energy lines were most visible. "But I think a sample will do for now." Pain exploded through Kevin's body as the device activated, drawing Omnitrix energy directly from his system. He screamed, body involuntarily cycling through alien forms as the extraction disrupted his control. "Ben, stop." Gwen's voice cut through the chaos. She had abandoned her position and now stood behind Ben, hands glowing with intensely bright mana. "You're killing him." Ben didn't look up, focused on the device as it filled with glowing green energy. "Just taking back what's mine." Gwen fired a mana bolt, more powerful than any Kevin had seen her use before. It struck Ben squarely in the back, sending him flying off Kevin and across the hangar floor. The extraction device skittered away, still containing the stolen energy. Kevin lay gasping, his body reverting to human form, the green lines on his skin dim and pulsing weakly. He felt drained, like a part of him had been torn away. Gwen knelt beside him. "Kevin. Are you okay?" "Been better," he managed, trying to sit up. His transformation abilities felt distant, harder to access. "What did he do to me?" "Extracted pure Omnitrix energy," Gwen said, helping him stand. "I don't know what that means for your powers." Across the hangar, Ben had recovered, retrieving the extraction device and securing it in his armor. His mercenaries had regrouped around him, some supporting injured comrades. "This isn't over," Ben called to them. "Not by a long shot." He pressed a hand to his ear, activating a communicator. "All teams, fall back. We got what we came for." "The vault," one of the mercenaries protested. "Change of plans," Ben cut them off. "Move out." As Ben and his forces retreated toward the breached hangar doors, plumber reinforcements finally arrived, Max leading them with a heavy-duty blaster in hand. "Ben!" Max shouted. "Stop this now." Ben paused at the threshold, looking back at his grandfather. For a brief moment, something like regret crossed his features. Then the cold mask returned. "Tell Kevin to enjoy the powers while he can," Ben called back. "They're coming home soon." With that, he was gone, his mercenaries covering the retreat with suppressing fire until they all disappeared through the ruined doors. Max rushed to Kevin and Gwen. "Are you hurt? What happened?" Kevin touched his neck where Ben had applied the device. The skin felt raw, tender. "He took something from me. Omnitrix energy." Max's expression darkened. "How much?" "Enough to make his bootleg version work better," Kevin said grimly. "But not enough to stop me." He tried transforming his arm into diamond heads, and while it worked, the process was slower, less fluid than before. "We need to get you to medical," Max insisted. "And figure out exactly what Ben's planning." "The quantum amplifier," Gwen supplied. "He said he needed it for something, but got distracted by the chance to extract energy directly from Kevin. If he's trying to replicate the Omnitrix with the energy he stole." Max trailed off, looking deeply troubled. "He'll be back," Kevin finished. "And next time, he won't settle for a sample. As plumbers secured the area and began treating the wounded, an urgent call came through on Max's communicator. Magister Tennyson. The medical bay is under attack. It's not Tennyson, it's something else. Something, the transmission cut off with the sound of an explosion. Tetrax, Kevin realized. The huntsman found him. Max was already moving. Gwen, stay with Kevin. I'll handle this. No way, Kevin argued, forcing his weakened body to transform into XLR-8. That alien saved my life once. I'm returning the favor. Before Max could protest, Kevin was gone, racing through the corridors toward the medical bay. The OMNITRIX energy might be diminished, but his determination wasn't. One enemy at a time. First the huntsman, then Ben. Both, he suspected, would prove to be far more dangerous than he was prepared for. The medical bay was in ruins when Kevin arrived. Equipment smashed, walls scorched by weapons fire, medical staff huddled in corners or helping the injured. And in the center of it all, Tetrax stood defiantly, one arm clutching his wounded side, the other holding the Genesis seed container protectively. Before him was a figure unlike anything Kevin had seen before, humanoid but clearly alien, its body covered in what looked like constantly shifting armor. Where the armor opened, Kevin glimpsed what appeared to be glass cases containing swirling substances of different colors. The huntsman, Kevin guessed, skidding to a halt beside Tetrax. Levin, Tetrax acknowledged without taking his eyes off the intruder. Bad timing. The huntsman tilted his head, studying Kevin with eyes that glowed an unnatural violet. Interesting. You carry Galvan technology, but integrated rather than attached. Useful adaptation. His voice was smooth, almost pleasant, with an accent Kevin couldn't place. It made the hairs on the back of Kevin's neck stand up. Who are you supposed to be? Kevin demanded, transforming from XLR-8 to a hybrid combat form, forearm strength with Diamond Head's crystalline armor. I am a collector, the huntsman replied simply. The Petrosapien has something that belongs in my collection. And now, it seems, so do you. Kevin positioned himself between the huntsman and Tetrax. Yeah, well, neither of us is interested in being collected today. The huntsman smiled, at least, Kevin thought it was a smile. The alien's face was partially obscured by his shifting armor. Everyone says that at first. They come to appreciate the honor eventually. Tetrax grunted in pain, leaning more heavily against Kevin. Don't engage him directly. His armor adapts to any attack. Now you. Tell me, Kevin muttered. Louder, he called, last chance to walk away, buddy. The huntsman's smile widened. I never walk away from a valuable specimen. With blinding speed, he launched himself at them. Kevin barely had time to shove Tetrax aside before the huntsman was on him, a blade extending from his arm to strike at Kevin's chest. The crystalline armor of Kevin's hybrid form cracked but held. Kevin counterattacked, landing a solid punch with forearm strength behind it. The huntsman flew backward, crashing into a medical cabinet. But he recovered instantly, his armor shifting and rippling as if analyzing the attack. Impressive strength, the huntsman noted, circling Kevin warily. Tetraman genetics, if I'm not mistaken. Combined with Petrosapien defensive capabilities. A fascinating hybrid. I've got more where that came from, Kevin warned, shifting his left arm into Heat Blast's form and launching a fireball. The flames engulfed the huntsman, but when they cleared, his armor had changed, taking on a reddish, heat-resistant appearance. The attack had done nothing. As I said, the huntsman's pleasant voice continued, my armor adapts. Every attack teaches it a new defense. A useful trait for a collector who deals with resistant acquisitions. Kevin glanced at Tetrax, who had positioned himself near an emergency exit, still protecting the Genesis seed. An idea formed in Kevin's mind, not a good one, but the best he had under the circumstances. So you're just a glorified trophy hunter, Kevin taunted, keeping the huntsman's attention on him. Taking other species' powers because you don't have any of your own. The huntsman's expression darkened slightly. I preserve greatness. Species die. Civilizations fall. But in my collection, their best traits live forever. In little glass jars. Kevin pointed to the cases visible beneath the shifting armor. That's not preservation. It's grave robbing. The taunt hit home. The huntsman's pleasant demeanor cracked, his voice taking on an edge. You understand nothing. I have saved the genetic legacy of 100 extinct species. After helping them go extinct? Kevin guessed, circling to draw the huntsman further from Tetrax. With a growl of genuine anger, the huntsman attacked again, this time with multiple blades extending from both arms. Kevin defended as best he could, but the huntsman had been watching, learning. Each strike found a weakness in Kevin's defense, drawing blood or cracking his crystalline armor. Kevin. Gwen's voice rang out as she finally reached the medical bay, Max right behind her. The huntsman glanced at the newcomers, then back at Kevin. Reinforcements. How tedious. He struck with renewed vigor, a flurry of blades that Kevin couldn't fully block. One sliced deep into his shoulder, another grazed his side. Kevin stumbled backward, his hybrid form flickering as his concentration wavered. Enough games, the huntsman declared, producing a device from within his armor, something that looked disturbingly like Ben's extraction tool, but larger, more sophisticated. Kevin knew instinctively what it was for. Gwen, get Tetrax out of here. The seed is what he wants. Gwen hesitated, torn between helping Kevin and following his directive. Max made the decision for her, rushing to Tetrax's side to help the injured alien toward the exit. The huntsman noticed immediately. The seed stays, he announced, turning from Kevin toward Tetrax and Max. It was the opening Kevin needed. He summoned what remained of his strength and transformed into a new hybrid, Heatblast's fiery core with XLR-8 speed. He shot forward, flames trailing behind him, and slammed into the huntsman with all his momentum. The impact carried them both through the wall of the medical bay and into the corridor beyond. Concrete crumbled, dust filled the air, and alarms blared as emergency systems activated. Kevin pinned the huntsman against the opposite wall, pouring heat directly into the alien's adaptive armor. Let's see you adapt to this. The armor began to glow red-hot, parts of it melting away to reveal more of the glass cases beneath. Inside them, Kevin glimpsed swirling substances, DNA samples, he realized with horror. Hundreds of them. You cannot win, the huntsman said, his pleasant tone finally gone, replaced with cold hatred. I have collected from beings far more powerful than you. Maybe, Kevin acknowledged, increasing the heat further. But I bet none of them were this stubborn. The huntsman's armor continued to adapt, forming heat-resistant layers that pushed back against Kevin's flames. It was a stalemate, neither could overcome the other's defense. Then the huntsman played his trump card. One of the glass cases on his chest opened, releasing a swirling purple substance that shot directly at Kevin's face. It latched on, a living parasitic material that began to spread across his skin. Kevin screamed, releasing the huntsman to claw at the substance. It burned like acid, disrupting his transformation and forcing him back to human form. The green energy lines on his skin pulsed frantically, fighting against the invasion. A morphic parasite, the huntsman explained, straightening his partly melted armor. It feeds on shapeshifters, disrupting their abilities. He approached Kevin, who had fallen to his knees, still fighting the spreading parasite. You would make an excellent addition to my collection. So many genetic samples in one convenient package. He reached for Kevin with the extraction device, but a wall of pink mana erupted between them. Gwen stood at the end of the corridor, eyes blazing with power. Get away from him, she commanded, her voice echoing strangely with magical energy. The huntsman assessed her briefly. Anodite energy. Interesting, but not my current priority. He turned back to Kevin. Another time, perhaps. With that, he activated something on his armor. A teleportation field surrounded him, and he vanished in a flash of light, leaving Kevin still struggling with the parasite. Gwen rushed to his side. "Kevin! What is that thing?" "Parasite," Kevin gasped, feeling it burning deeper into his skin, targeting the Omnitrix energy. "Can't transform." Gwen's hands glowed with mana as she tried to remove the creature, but it resisted her magic, burrowing deeper. Max appeared in the ruined doorway of the medical bay. "Tetrax is secure." What happened to? He stopped short when he saw Kevin. "Morphic parasite. We need to get him to containment immediately." Kevin felt consciousness slipping away as the parasite continued its attack on his system. The last thing he saw was Gwen's terrified face above him, her lips moving in what might have been a spell. Then darkness claimed him. Kevin woke to the soft beep of medical equipment and the sensation of something cool against his skin. He opened his eyes slowly, finding himself in a plumber medical pod, transparent cover retracted, various scanners monitoring his condition. "Welcome back," Gwen said from beside the pod. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept in some time. "How long was I out?" Kevin's voice came out raspy, his throat dry. "Almost 2 days." Gwen handed him a cup of water, which he drank gratefully. "The parasite nearly killed you. It was specifically designed to attack shapeshifters, and with the Omnitrix energy already weakened from Ben's extraction." Kevin sat up gingerly, feeling aches in muscles he didn't know he had. "Did you get it off me?" "Eventually. Tetrax knew a method. Apparently Petrosapiens have dealt with these parasites before. A combination of specific radiation and magical countermeasures." Kevin noticed the green energy lines on his skin were fainter than before, pulsing slowly but steadily. "What about my powers?" Gwen's expression turned grave. "The parasite damaged some of the Omnitrix energy integration. And with what Ben already took." She trailed off. Kevin held up his hand, concentrating on transforming it into Diamondhead's crystalline form. The transformation happened, but slowly, painfully, and the result was incomplete, more like crystal growths on human skin than a true transformation. "Great," Kevin muttered, reverting his hand with effort. "Between Ben and the huntsman, I'm running on fumes." "The doctors think it's temporary," Gwen assured him. "Your body should regenerate the Omnitrix energy over time. But for now, you need to be careful with transformations. Use them sparingly." Kevin nodded, though the news hit him harder than he wanted to admit. In 3 months, he'd grown accustomed to the power, come to rely on it. Being limited again felt like losing a limb. What about Tetrax? The Genesis seed? Secure, for now. The huntsman hasn't returned, but Grandpa doesn't think he's given up. Kevin swung his legs over the edge of the medical pod, testing his strength. Weaker than normal, but not debilitated. And Ben? Any sign of him? Gwen shook her head. Nothing since the attack. But we know he's got Omnitrix energy now, your energy. Combined with whatever tech he's been collecting. He's building his own Omnitrix, Kevin finished. A knockoff version, powered by what he stole from me. We think so, yes. The quantum amplifier he was after would have helped stabilize the energy, make it more compatible with his system. Kevin stood carefully, steadying himself against the pod. So 2 major threats now. The huntsman wants the Genesis seed and probably a sample of me for his collection. And Ben wants to drain me dry to power his bootleg Omnitrix. Sounds about right, Gwen agreed, helping him stay upright. Just another day in the life of Kevin Levin. Despite everything, Kevin found himself smiling. 3 months ago, he'd been a loner, a criminal, out for nobody but himself. Now he had, what? Allies? Friends? A purpose beyond survival? It was strange how things had changed, how he had changed. "Where's your grandfather?" Kevin asked, taking a few experimental steps. Meeting with Tetrax. Now that you're awake, they wanted to talk to you. About what? Gwen hesitated. Tetrax has a proposal. For stopping both the huntsman and Ben. Kevin raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. The plumber conference room was small but secure, its walls lined with technology designed to prevent any form of surveillance. Tetrax sat at the table, looking better than when Kevin had last seen him. The alien warrior's wounds had been treated, though he still moved carefully, evidently not fully healed. Max stood at a holographic display, reviewing what appeared to be security footage from the attack. He looked up when Kevin and Gwen entered. Kevin. Good to see you on your feet. Thanks for the help with the parasite thing, Kevin replied, taking a seat across from Tetrax. Heard you've got a plan. Tetrax studied Kevin with all four eyes. Not a plan yet. A possibility. He placed the container holding the Genesis seed on the table between them. Inside, the blue energy swirled hypnotically. The seed is what the huntsman wants most. And your cousin wants the OMNITRIX energy you carry. Yeah, we covered that part already, Kevin said impatiently. The question is what we do about it. Tetrax leaned forward. We use both facts to our advantage. Set a trap. With what as bait? Kevin asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Both the seed and you, Tetrax confirmed. Together. Gwen immediately objected. Absolutely not. Kevin's already been through enough. Using him as bait is out of the question. Hear him out, Gwen, Max urged gently. The idea has merit. Kevin motioned for Tetrax to continue, ignoring Gwen's concerned look. The seed has properties beyond what I've told you, Tetrax explained. It doesn't just replicate DNA. Under the right circumstances, it can stabilize it, strengthen it. What are you saying? Kevin asked, suddenly more interested. I'm saying it could help repair the damage done to your OMNITRIX energy. Make it stronger, more stable than before. Potentially even enhance your control over the transformations. Kevin eyed the container with new interest. And the catch? The process would release a unique energy signature. One that both the huntsman and, if he's monitoring plumber communications, your cousin would detect. Drawing them both to the same place at the same time, Kevin realized. Where we'd be waiting. Exactly, Tetrax nodded. The huntsman is a formidable opponent, but he is not accustomed to working against coordinated resistance. And from what I understand, your cousin is dangerous but inexperienced. You want to pit them against each other, Gwen said, understanding dawning. Let them weaken each other before we move in. While also helping Kevin recover his full powers, Max added. It's risky, but it addresses multiple problems simultaneously. Kevin considered the proposal. Using the Genesis seed to repair and potentially enhance his OMNITRIX integration was tempting. And drawing both enemies to a location of their choosing, where they'd have the tactical advantage, made strategic sense. But Tetrax was holding something back. Kevin could sense it in the alien's careful phrasing, in the way he occasionally glanced at the seed. What aren't you telling us? Kevin asked bluntly. There's more to this seed thing than you're saying. Tetrax's four eyes blinked in what might have been surprise. Then he nodded, a gesture he'd clearly picked up from humans. You are perceptive, Kevin Levin. Yes, there is more. Capture mission, it was potentially an execution. Max cleared his throat. The plumbers don't sanction assassination, Tetrax. You know that. I'm not asking the plumbers to sanction anything, Tetrax replied calmly. I'm asking for assistance in setting a trap. What happens afterward is my responsibility. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Kevin glanced at Gwen, who looked troubled by the direction the conversation had taken. Max's expression had hardened, the plumber magister clearly conflicted between his duty and the practical reality of the threat they faced. Kevin broke the silence. What about Ben? Where does he fit into all this? A complication, Tetrax acknowledged. But potentially a useful one. His presence will divide the huntsman's attention. And perhaps. He hesitated. Perhaps seeing a greater threat will remind him of who he once was. Gwen looked up sharply. You think this could bring Ben back to our side? I think common enemies can forge unlikely alliances, Tetrax said carefully. The boy was a hero once. That doesn't disappear entirely, even in the darkest heart. Kevin wasn't so sure. The Ben he'd faced in the hangar was barely recognizable as the kid who'd once worn the Omnitrix. The cold calculation, the willingness to hurt others to get what he wanted, that wasn't the actions of someone temporarily led astray. That was a fundamental change. So where do we do this? Kevin asked, tacitly accepting the plan despite his reservations. It needs to be somewhere away from civilians, somewhere we can control the battlefield. Max activated the holographic display, showing a location outside Bellwood. The abandoned quarry where Tetrax first landed. Remote, defensible, and we can set up surveillance and containment measures in advance. When? Gwen asked. Tomorrow night, Tetrax said firmly. The huntsman is patient, but not infinitely so. And from what you've told me about your cousin, he grows more desperate by the day. Kevin nodded slowly, his decision made. All right. I'm in. Kevin, Gwen started to object. I'm tired of being hunted, Gwen, Kevin cut her off. By Ben, by this huntsman, by every alien bounty hunter who's heard about the kid with the Omnitrix energy. It's time to end this. Gwen studied his face for a long moment, then sighed. Fine. But I'm not letting you face this alone. Either of them. Wouldn't dream of asking you to, Kevin replied with a half-smile. He turned back to Tetrax. So how exactly does this seed thing work? What do I need to do? Tetrax opened the container, revealing the Genesis seed itself, a small, luminous blue object that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. You must hold it. Allow it to sample your DNA, including the Omnitrix integration. The process is, not comfortable. Story of my life, Kevin muttered. Let's do it. Ben Tennyson studied the extraction device, watching the stolen Omnitrix energy swirl within its containment field. 3 months of searching, planning, building, and finally, he had what he needed. Or at least, the start of it. The abandoned warehouse he'd claimed as his base was a far cry from the plumber headquarters or even the rust bucket. Equipment salvaged from a dozen sources cluttered workbenches. Alien tech, some legally acquired, most not, lined the walls. And in the center, his greatest creation so far, the simulator. Not an Omnitrix. Not yet. But a step toward it. A device that could temporarily mimic the Omnitrix's transformation capabilities using the stolen energy, though with severe limitations. Each use drained the energy faster than his body could process it. Each transformation was unstable, painful. But it was a start. Ben flexed his hand, watching the green energy lines that had formed on his skin after using the simulator. Unlike Kevin's, these were faint, fragile, already fading hours after his last transformation. Not integrated. Not permanent. Not yet. A chime from his computer drew his attention. One of his monitoring algorithms had detected something, a transmission from plumber headquarters. Ben activated the display, scanning the intercepted message. His eyes widened as he read. The Genesis seed. A plan to help Kevin stabilize and enhance his Omnitrix energy. Tomorrow night at the quarry. Perfect, Ben whispered, a cold smile spreading across his face. He activated a different screen, this one showing a diagram of a device he'd been designing, a more advanced version of his extraction tool. One that could drain all the Omnitrix energy at once, transferring it directly to his simulator. With a few keystrokes, Ben sent the design to his small manufacturing unit. It would be ready by tomorrow. Just in time. A part of him, a distant, fading part, felt a twinge of something like regret. Using the seed to help Kevin meant his cousin Gwen would be there. Probably Grandpa Max too. They might get caught in the crossfire when he made his move. Ben pushed the thought away. They'd made their choice when they sided with Kevin. When they gave a plumber badge to the thief who'd stolen his identity, his purpose. Ben touched the energy container again, feeling the power vibrate in response to his proximity. Soon it would all be his again. The power, the aliens, the hero he was meant to be. And if Kevin Levin had to die for that to happen? Well, that was a price Ben was increasingly willing to pay. The quarry looked different at night, the steep rock walls casting long shadows in the moonlight. Kevin stood in the center of the clearing, the Genesis seed container in his hands. Plumber agents had set up a perimeter, hidden among the rocks and trees. Gwen and Max were positioned on higher ground, overlooking the entire area. Tetrax stood beside Kevin, his crystalline form reflecting the moonlight. "Are you ready?" Kevin nodded, eyeing the seed warily. "Just to be clear, this thing helps fix my OMNITRIX energy, sends out a signal that brings both our bad guys running, and then we spring the trap." "That is the plan," Tetrax confirmed. "Though in my experience, plans rarely survive first contact with the enemy." "Comforting," Kevin muttered. He opened the container, the blue energy of the seed bathing his face in its glow. "Here goes nothing." He reached in and grasped the seed. Immediately, pain shot up his arm, not the burning agony of the parasite, but an intense, deep tissue sensation, as if every cell in his body was being examined and recategorized. The green energy lines on his skin flared brilliantly, meeting the blue energy of the seed where they touched. "Normal reaction," Tetrax assured him, though Kevin wasn't entirely convinced. "The seed is analyzing your unique genetic structure." Kevin gritted his teeth against the pain, watching as the blue energy began to flow up his arm, intertwining with the green OMNITRIX energy lines. Where they met, the colors shifted, creating a new pattern, a more stable, harmonized network across his skin. "It's working," Kevin gasped, feeling the OMNITRIX energy responding, strengthening. He tried a small transformation, turning his free hand into diamond heads. The change was smoother than before, more complete. Then something unexpected happened. The seed pulsed, and images flooded Kevin's mind, alien landscapes, strange technology, faces of a species he'd never seen before. The Arbora, he realized. The seed wasn't just repairing his DNA, it was sharing knowledge. "Tetrax," Kevin managed through clenched teeth. "It's showing me things." "The Arbora, yes," Tetrax nodded. "The seed contains their legacy. Their knowledge. It judges whether the bearer is worthy to receive it." "You might have mentioned that part earlier," Kevin grunted, struggling to process the flood of information. Genetic sequences, technological schematics, historical records, it was overwhelming. "Would you have agreed if I had?" Tetrax asked simply. Before Kevin could answer, the seed pulsed again, more intensely. The blue energy spread further, covering his entire body now, merging with the green in a complex lattice pattern. Kevin felt his connection to the OMNITRIX energy changing, deepening. It no longer felt like an alien power he was channeling, but something integrated, harmonized with his own biology. "Signal is active," Max's voice came through their communicators. "Any sign of our expected guests?" As if on cue, two things happened simultaneously. A teleportation field appeared at the eastern edge of the quarry, heralding the huntsman's arrival. And from the west, the sound of engines, Ben, approaching with what sounded like multiple vehicles. "Right on schedule," Tetrax said, drawing a crystalline weapon from his back. "Remember the plan. Let them see each other first. Let confusion work to our advantage." Kevin nodded, still holding the seed, still connected to its energy. He could cut the connection now if he wanted to, the repair to his OMNITRIX integration was complete. But the knowledge transfer was ongoing, and something told him it might be crucial in the fight to come. The huntsman stepped forward from the teleportation field, his adaptive armor already configured for combat. He surveyed the quarry, immediately spotting Kevin and Tetrax in the center. The Petrosapien, the hybrid, and the seed, he said, his pleasant voice carrying easily across the open space. How convenient. From the western ridge, vehicles appeared, rugged transport trucks carrying Ben and what looked like a dozen mercenaries. They stopped at the edge, and Ben stepped forward, now wearing an even more advanced suit of armor than before, glowing with harvested Omnitrix energy. For a moment, neither Ben nor the huntsman seemed to notice each other, both focused on Kevin and the seed. Then, almost comically, they each registered the other's presence. What is this? Ben demanded, his voice amplified by his suit. Some kind of trap, Kevin. The huntsman studied Ben with obvious interest. Another hybrid? No, something different. You have traces of the same energy, but artificially integrated. Fascinating. Who the hell are you? Ben asked, attention shifting to the new threat. A collector. And you are? The rightful owner of the power he stole, Ben pointed at Kevin. Stay out of my way, and I won't have to hurt you. The huntsman actually laughed, a sound so incongruous with his fearsome appearance that it momentarily disconcerted everyone. Brave. Foolish, but brave. I like specimens with spirit. Ben's eyes narrowed behind his face shield. I'm not a specimen. And I'm not here for you. He gestured to his mercenaries, who raised their weapons. Secure Levin and the device he's holding. Eliminate anyone who interferes. The huntsman's amusement vanished. The seed is mine. It belongs in my collection, along with the Arbora who created it. He touched a control on his armor, and it shifted, weapons extending from multiple points. I will not ask again, young human. Stand aside. Kevin exchanged a look with Tetrax. The plan was working even better than expected, both enemies were clearly more focused on each other than on coordinating against Kevin and the plumbers. Now. Max's voice commanded through the communicator. Plumber agents emerged from hiding, targeting both threats with specialized weapons. Gwen created a massive mana shield between the two enemy forces, preventing them from attacking Kevin directly. And Tetrax moved to protect Kevin as he completed his connection with the seed. The quarry erupted into chaos. Ben's mercenaries opened fire on both the plumbers and the huntsman. The huntsman responded with devastating attacks from his adaptive armor, cutting through mercenaries with horrific efficiency. And caught in the middle, Kevin felt the final pulse of the seed as it completed its work. Blue and green energy swirled around him, lifting him slightly off the ground. The pain was gone now, replaced by a sense of clarity, of completion. The Omnitrix energy was fully integrated again, but different, more controlled, more responsive. And with it came understanding, knowledge from the Arbora about genetic manipulation, transformation, adaptation. Kevin opened his eyes, now glowing with the combined energies. He looked down at the seed, now dim and inert in his palm. It had given him everything it could. It is done, Tetrax said, watching Kevin with a mixture of awe and concern. How do you feel? Kevin smiled, a genuine smile that felt strange on his face after months of tension. Like myself. Only better. He pocketed the depleted seed and turned to face the battlefield. Ben had engaged directly with the huntsman now, his armor's weapons proving surprisingly effective against the adaptive defenses. But the huntsman was learning, adjusting, each attack less effective than the last. Time to end this, Kevin said, stepping forward. He focused on his new, enhanced connection to the Omnitrix energy. The transformation that followed was unlike any he'd experienced before. His body changed, but not into any single alien form. Instead, he became something new, a perfect hybrid of multiple aliens, their strengths combined without their individual weaknesses. Diamondhead's crystalline durability covered forearm strength. Heat Blast's energy control enhanced XLR 8 speed. Kevin Levin had become something new, something more than the sum of the Omnitrix parts. He moved into the fray with impossible speed, appearing between Ben and the huntsman just as they were about to clash again. With one massive arm, he knocked Ben backward. With the other, he struck the huntsman with enough force to crack his adaptive armor. Both opponents staggered, momentarily stunned by the sudden intervention in Kevin's transformed appearance. What are you?" Ben demanded, the first to recover. "What have you done with my Omnitrix energy?" Kevin turned to face his former enemy. "Made it mine, Tennyson. Completely and permanently. There's nothing left for you to steal." It wasn't entirely true, the seed had helped stabilize and enhance the energy, not fundamentally change its nature. But Ben didn't need to know that. "Liar!" Ben shouted, his armor charging with the small amount of Omnitrix energy he'd managed to extract. "I'll take it all." He launched himself at Kevin, weapons deployed. But in this new form, Kevin was faster, stronger. He caught Ben mid-air, holding him by his armor's power core. "Listen to me, Ben," Kevin said, his voice different in this hybrid form, resonating with power. "This ends now. You've gone too far. Hurt too many people. It's over." "It's never over," Ben snarled, his armor straining against Kevin's grip. "Not until I have what's mine." Behind them, the huntsman had recovered, his armor repairing itself, adapting to Kevin's attack. He studied the situation with calculating eyes, then made his move, not against Kevin, but against the seemingly more vulnerable Ben. A blade extended from the huntsman's arm, aiming directly for Ben's exposed neck where his armor didn't quite meet his helmet. Kevin saw it coming and reacted instinctively. He spun, still holding Ben, putting himself between the boy and the blade. The weapon struck Kevin's crystalline back, shattering against the enhanced durability of his hybrid form. The impact jarred him, but caused no real damage. Ben stared up at Kevin in confusion. "You protected me? Why?" Before Kevin could answer, Gwen's voice cut through the battlefield noise. "Kevin. The huntsman is deploying something." Kevin turned to see the huntsman activating a device on his arm, something that pulsed with ominous energy. Tetrax, who had been fighting nearby, recognized it immediately. "DNA extractor," the Petrosapien warrior shouted. "He's trying to collect samples remotely." The device fired, a beam of energy targeting Kevin and Ben simultaneously. Kevin reacted on instinct, using knowledge from the seed. He transformed one arm into a reflective crystalline form with a specific molecular structure, one designed by the Arbora to counter exactly this kind of technology. The beam hit his transformed arm and rebounded, striking the huntsman directly. The alien collector screamed as his own technology turned against him, his adaptive armor destabilizing as the extraction beam interfered with its systems. "Impossible," the huntsman gasped, staggering backward. "That configuration, it's Arbora technology." "Guess your collection wasn't as complete as you thought," Kevin replied, maintaining his defensive stance. The huntsman's armor continued to malfunction, parts of it melting away to reveal more of the glass cases beneath, many now cracking under the strain of the rebounded energy. Alien DNA samples began to leak out, swirling chaotically around the huntsman as he struggled to maintain control. "No. My collection." The huntsman's pleasant voice was gone now, replaced by raw panic. He frantically tried to recontain the escaping samples, but it was too late. The DNA extractor had triggered a chain reaction, destabilizing his entire system. Tetrax approached, weapon aimed at the floundering collector. "Justice for the Arbora," he said coldly. "And for all the others you've destroyed." The huntsman looked up, actual fear visible on his face for the first time. "You don't understand. I preserved them. Saved them. Without me, they're truly gone." "They were never yours to save," Tetrax replied. His finger tightened on the trigger. Kevin released Ben and moved to Tetrax's side. "Wait." Tetrax glanced at him, surprise evident in his 4 eyes. "He deserves to die for what he's done." "Probably," Kevin agreed. "But killing him won't bring back the Arbora. And the seed gave me more than just power. It gave me their perspective. They were creators, not destroyers." The huntsman watched this exchange with calculating eyes, still struggling with his failing systems but clearly alert for any opportunity. "What do you suggest?" Tetrax asked, weapon still aimed. Kevin knelt beside the huntsman, studying the complex technology of his armor. With his new knowledge, he could see how it worked, how it preserved the DNA samples, how it adapted to attacks. And most importantly, how it could be disabled without destroying the samples within. "The plumbers can contain him," Kevin said. "And with him, preserve what's left of his collection, not as weapons, but as a memorial. A record of what was lost." Tetrax hesitated, clearly torn between his desire for vengeance and the logic of Kevin's suggestion. Finally, he lowered his weapon slightly. "The Arbora were peaceful. They would approve of your solution." The moment's distraction was all the huntsman needed. With a desperate movement, he activated his teleportation system. The field began to form around him, the familiar energy signature of emergency transport. "No." Tetrax lunged forward, but it was too late. The huntsman smiled his unnerving smile one last time. "Until our next encounter," he said, voice regaining some of its pleasant tone despite his desperate situation. "I'll be watching your development with great interest, Kevin Levin." Then he was gone, teleported away to some unknown location, leaving behind only scattered remnants of escaped DNA samples and damaged armor pieces. Tetrax roared in frustration, smashing his fist into the ground hard enough to crack the stone. He escaped. Again. Kevin reverted to his human form, the transformation back as smooth as the initial change had been. The green energy lines on his skin were different now, more organized, more symmetrical, with traces of blue from the seed's influence. "He's damaged," Kevin said. "Weakened. And he knows we have a way to counter his technology now. He won't come back anytime soon." Tetrax didn't look convinced, but before he could argue further, a commotion from behind them drew their attention. Ben had taken advantage of the chaos to break free from the plumber agents who'd been attempting to detain him. He stood at the edge of the quarry, his damaged armor sparking, mercenaries scattered or captured around him. "This isn't over, Kevin," he shouted, backing toward one of the few remaining functional vehicles. "Whatever you've done to the Omnitrix energy, I'll find a way to take it back." Gwen approached him, hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. "Ben, please. Stop this. Come home. We can help you." For just a moment, Ben's expression softened. He looked at his cousin, at his grandfather who now stood nearby, and something like regret flickered in his eyes. Then his gaze found Kevin again, and the hardness returned. "As long as he has what's mine, I can never come home." With that, he turned and ran for the vehicle, plumber agents in pursuit. But Ben had always been resourceful, even without the Omnitrix. He reached the truck and jumped in, the engine roaring to life as he accelerated away into the darkness. Kevin watched him go, a complex mix of emotions swirling inside him. Relief that the immediate threat was over. Satisfaction at his new, enhanced connection to the Omnitrix energy. But also something unexpected, pity for Ben, who had lost himself in his obsession with regaining what he'd lost. Gwen joined him, her expression mirroring his own conflicted feelings. "We'll find him again." "Yeah," Kevin agreed. "But will it matter?" "He's not going to stop, Gwen. Not until he gets what he wants or—" He didn't finish the thought. Didn't need to. They both understood the unspoken alternative. "The seed," Tetrax said, approaching them. "Where is it?" Kevin pulled the depleted seed from his pocket. It was dim now, its energy transferred to enhance Kevin's Omnitrix integration. "Here. But it's empty." "It gave everything it had." Tetrax took the seed reverently, examining it. Not empty. Dormant. The knowledge, the genetic patterns, they live on in you now, Kevin Levin. The last legacy of the Arbora. Kevin looked down at the altered energy patterns on his skin. What does that make me? Something new, Tetrax said simply. Perhaps something better than either of us imagined. Max joined them, surveying the battlefield with a practiced eye. Plumber agents were securing captured mercenaries and collecting alien technology left behind in the fight. We captured most of Ben's mercenary force, he reported. But no sign of where Ben might be headed. He'll lie low for a while, Kevin predicted. Rebuild. His armor was damaged, and without the quantum amplifier, his attempts to use the stolen Omnitrix energy will remain unstable. And the huntsman? Max asked. Tetrax's expression darkened. Escaped. Though not unscathed. Max nodded, unsurprised but disappointed. 2 enemies, still at large. But we've gained valuable intelligence on both. And Kevin. He gestured to Kevin's transformed appearance. You seem different. I am, Kevin confirmed. The seed did more than just repair the damage. It enhanced the integration, made it more efficient. And it gave me knowledge, Arbora knowledge about genetic manipulation, transformation. Is it safe? Max asked, the plumber in him naturally concerned about unknown alien technology. Kevin considered the question seriously. The energy flowing through him was powerful, complex. But it no longer felt foreign or dangerous. It felt right, balanced in a way it never had before. Yeah, he finally said. It's safe. It's me. Just more so. Gwen took his hand, examining the new energy pattern with both magical sensitivity and simple human curiosity. It's beautiful, she said softly. Like a living circuit board. Kevin felt warmth spread through him at her touch. Another change in these past months, this connection with Gwen that had grown from reluctant alliance to something deeper, something he wasn't quite ready to name yet. So what now? He asked, looking from Gwen to Max to Tetrax. Both our bad guys are still out there. Ben's still fixated on taking back the Omnitrix energy. The huntsman still wants his collections. And I'm still stuck in the middle. Now, Max said firmly, we prepare. Because you're right, neither of them will stop. But neither will we. He placed a hand on Kevin's shoulder. You're not alone in this fight anymore, Kevin. Remember that. Kevin nodded, understanding the significance of the gesture. 3 months ago, he'd been a loner, a thief, someone who trusted no one and relied only on himself. Now he stood in the middle of allies, of friends, who had fought beside him, protected him, believed in him. I know, he said simply. As they began the cleanup operation, Kevin found himself looking up at the night sky, where stars glittered like the energy now flowing through his veins. 2 enemies had escaped, but they would return. And when they did, Kevin Levin would be ready, not as the thief who had stolen the Omnitrix, but as the hero he was slowly, improbably becoming. The irony wasn't lost on him. Ben Tennyson had started as a hero and was descending into darkness. Kevin had started in darkness and was finding his way towards something brighter. Their paths had crossed and diverged, leading each to a destiny neither could have imagined. Kevin touched the energy lines on his arm, feeling the power pulse in response. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for certain, nothing would ever be the same again. Chapter 3, Hero and Villain. The blast door buckled under the impact of 4 massive fists. Another hit and it gave way completely, flying across the secret laboratory and crashing into expensive equipment. Kevin Levin stepped through the opening, his hybrid form combining the strength of 4 arms with the durability of Diamond Head, a combination that had become his signature over the past month. Knock knock, Kevin announced, scanning the lab. Anyone order a plumber delivery? Scientists in white coats scrambled away from workstations, abandoning whatever illegal alien tech they'd been developing. Kevin spotted what he was looking for on a central platform, a pulsing purple device about the size of a basketball. "There it is," Gwen said, stepping through the ruined doorway behind him. Her hands glowed with mana as she created barriers to block the scientists' escape routes. "The phase disruptor the plumbers have been tracking." Kevin transformed his lower arms back to human while keeping his upper limbs as forearms, giving him the dexterity to handle the device carefully while maintaining his strength. "Fourth illegal weapons lab this month," he noted, lifting the disruptor. The blue-green energy lines on his skin pulsed brighter as he made contact with the alien tech. "Someone's getting desperate." "That someone has a name," Gwen replied, using her mana to secure the fleeing scientists. "The components match Ben's signature tech combinations." Kevin nodded grimly. It had been 4 weeks since the confrontation at the quarry. 4 weeks of tracking Ben's operations, dismantling his attempts to build increasingly dangerous devices. 4 weeks of wondering when, not if, his former enemy would make his next major move. "Should we be worried about this thing?" Kevin asked, examining the disruptor. After the Genesis seed enhancement, he could sense alien technology in ways he couldn't before, an intuitive understanding of its function, its dangers. "Definitely," Gwen confirmed. "According to Grandpa's intel, it's designed to create localized rifts in spacetime. Small but extremely dangerous. Perfect for a surprise attack on Plumber HQ, Kevin guessed. Or targeting specific people without warning." "People like you," Gwen said quietly. Kevin didn't dispute it. They both knew Ben's obsession hadn't diminished. If anything, each failed attempt, each laboratory they shut down, only intensified his determination to reclaim the Omnitrix energy. Kevin fully reverted to human form, the transformation smooth and effortless now. The energy lines on his skin settled into their normal pattern, an intricate network of blue-green circuitry that covered much of his upper body and portions of his face. He no longer bothered hiding them, they were part of who he was now. "Let's get this back to HQ," he said, carefully placing the disruptor in a specialized containment unit Gwen produced from her pack. "Max will want to examine it." As they secured the lab and waited for additional plumber agents to arrive, Kevin couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something. These labs, these devices, they were dangerous, yes, but almost too obvious. Ben was smart. Resourceful. These felt like distractions. "What are you really planning, Tennyson?" Kevin muttered to himself as they loaded the disruptor into their vehicle. He didn't have to wait long for an answer. The plumber alert system blared through headquarters 3 hours later, interrupting the debriefing about the phase disruptor. Max Tennyson's expression grew grave as he read the incoming data on his console. "We have a situation," he announced, pulling up a holographic display of Bellwood. A red dot pulsed ominously at the city center. "Something just breached atmosphere and landed downtown. Initial readings suggest it's a ship of some kind." "Crash landing?" Kevin asked, already on his feet. Max shook his head. "Controlled descent. Whoever it is, they wanted to make an entrance." "Any communication?" Gwen asked, joining them at the console. "Nothing yet. But the energy signature is." Max hesitated, a flash of recognition crossing his face. "No, it can't be." "What?" Kevin and Gwen asked simultaneously. Max enlarged the scan results, highlighting the ship-specific energy pattern. "This signature. I've seen it before. It belongs to Vilgax," a plumber technician interrupted, genuine fear in his voice. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's from Vilgax." The name meant nothing to Kevin, but the reaction it caused was immediate and dramatic. The entire command center fell silent. Max's face hardened into a mask of controlled anger and concern. And Gwen actually took a step back, her hand instinctively raising in a defensive position. "Who's Vilgax?" Kevin asked, looking between them. "One of the most dangerous beings in the galaxy," Max answered grimly. "A conqueror. A tyrant. And he's been hunting the OMNITRIX since the day Ben found it. Understanding dawned on Kevin. So if he's here now. He knows about you, Gwen finished. About the OMNITRIX energy. Max squared his shoulders. Put the transmission on screen. The main display flickered, then filled with the image of a massive alien unlike any Kevin had seen before. Humanoid but with tentacle-like appendages on his face, green skin, and red eyes that radiated malevolence. He wore armor that seemed fused with his body in places, and his physical presence, even through a screen, was intimidating. Plumbers of Earth, Vilgax's voice rumbled, deep and threatening. I have come for what is rightfully mine. The OMNITRIX power now resides in a new host. Deliver Kevin Levin to me, and your pathetic planet will be spared. Resist, and face the consequences. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving a tense silence in its wake. Well, he seems nice, Kevin remarked dryly, though he couldn't quite keep the tension from his voice. What's his deal with the OMNITRIX? He's been trying to obtain it for years, Max explained, already coordinating defense protocols with his team. He believes it's the ultimate weapon, one that would make him unstoppable in his conquest of the galaxy. How did he find out about Kevin? Gwen asked. Max's expression darkened further. That's the question, isn't it? Someone must have told him. The implication hung heavy in the air. Someone like Ben. I need to face him, Kevin decided. This Vilgax guy came for me. I'm not letting Bellwood get torn apart because I'm hiding behind plumber shields. Absolutely not, Max countered firmly. Vilgax is not an enemy you can take on alone, Kevin. Not even with your enhanced powers. I won't be alone, Kevin replied, glancing at Gwen, who nodded in determined agreement. And I'm not suggesting we just walk up and surrender. But we need to confront him away from civilians, on our terms. Max studied Kevin's face. The impulsive, self-serving teenager who had absorbed the OMNITRIX months ago was gone. In his place stood someone who understood responsibility, who thought strategically, who put others before himself. We'll need a plan, Max conceded. And backup. Kevin's response was cut off by another alert, this one from a different sector of the city. Sir, a plumber called urgently. We have a second situation. The downtown power grid is under attack. It's Ben Tennyson, sir. He's with a team, targeting the main reactor. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. Kevin and Gwen exchanged knowing looks. He's working with Vilgax, Gwen said, the pain of that realization evident in her voice. Ben's allied himself with Vilgax. Divide and conquer, Kevin nodded grimly. While we're dealing with the alien warlord, Ben makes his move elsewhere. Max's face showed the strain of a man torn between duty and family. His grandson had fallen further than any of them could have imagined possible. We need to split up, he decided finally. I'll take a team to handle Ben at the power plant. Kevin, Gwen, I'm authorizing you to lead the response to Vilgax, but with full tactical support. You engage only under controlled circumstances, understood? Understood, they replied in unison. As they prepared to move out, Kevin caught Gwen looking at him with an unreadable expression. What? He asked. Just thinking about how much has changed, she said softly. 6 months ago, you were the villain and Ben was the hero. Now. Kevin touched the energy lines on his arm, feeling the power that had changed everything. Yeah. Funny how life works out. But neither of them was laughing as they headed toward the armory. Today would determine whether Kevin was truly worthy of the power he'd taken, and whether Ben was truly lost to the darkness he'd embraced. Ben Tennyson watched from an elevated position as his team breached the power plant's outer security. His armor, new and improved since the quarry battle, hummed with energy, some of it stolen from Kevin, some acquired from other alien sources. It wasn't the OMNITRIX, but it gave him a fraction of what he'd lost, enough to execute today's plan. "Sir, we've secured the main entrance," his second-in-command reported through the comm, proceeding to the reactor core. "Good," Ben replied. "Remember, we need control of the system, not destruction." "Any sign of Plummer response?" "Nothing yet, but they'll have detected the breach by now." Ben nodded, though his subordinate couldn't see it. "Proceed as planned. I'll join you at the core." He deactivated the comm and touched a different control on his gauntlet. A secure channel opened, connecting him to his newest ally. "The power plant is nearly secured," Ben reported. "The plumbers will have to divide their forces now." "Good," Vilgax's deep voice rumbled through the connection. "Your cousin and the Omnitrix thief approach my position now. All proceeds as we discussed." "Remember our deal," Ben said, a hard edge to his voice. "I help you capture Kevin, but the Omnitrix energy is mine." "Of course," Vilgax agreed, too smoothly. "I seek only the technology, not its current biological integration. Once extracted, the energy is yours to claim." Ben knew better than to fully trust the alien warlord, but their goals aligned for now. Vilgax had the technology to safely extract the Omnitrix energy from Kevin, technology Ben had failed to develop on his own despite months of trying. And Ben had the inside knowledge Vilgax needed to overcome Earth's defenses. A necessary alliance, if temporary. Tennyson out, Ben closed the channel and moved toward the power plant's core. His team had made good progress, disabling security systems and subduing the human guards without killing them, one of Ben's few remaining lines he refused to cross. He wasn't a murderer, regardless of what his family thought of him now. Just someone reclaiming what was rightfully his. As Ben entered the reactor control room, his tactical display alerted him to approaching Plummer vehicles. Right on schedule. He activated his team comm again. "We have company. Prepare for Plummer interference." "Rules of engagement," his second-in-command asked. Ben hesitated only briefly. "Non-lethal where possible. But we're not surrendering the facility." "Understood, sir." Ben moved to the main control terminal and began the procedure they'd planned, rerouting power from Bellwood's grid to specific coordinates, a sequence that would create an electromagnetic pulse effect at precisely the location where Kevin would be confronting Vilgax. The pulse wouldn't harm humans, but it would temporarily disrupt Kevin's connection to the Omnitrix energy. A window of vulnerability that Vilgax could exploit. A window Ben could exploit. He was so focused on his work that he nearly missed the sound of the door opening behind him. Nearly. "Hello, Grandpa," Ben said without turning around. Max Tennyson stood in the doorway, blaster lowered but ready. "Alone?" "Ben," Max's voice was steady, but heavy with emotion. "Stop this. It's not too late to turn back." Ben continued working at the terminal, fingers flying across the alien-enhanced interface of his gauntlets. "Actually, it is too late. About 6 months too late. Where's your backup?" "I ordered them to secure the perimeter," Max replied, taking a cautious step forward. "This is between us." Now Ben turned, facing his grandfather fully for the first time since their brief encounter during the Plummer headquarters attack. "Is it? Because from where I'm standing, you chose sides a long time ago. And it wasn't mine." Max's eyes reflected pain, but also unwavering resolve. "I chose to uphold what's right, Ben. What you once believed in too. Before the Omnitrix became more important to you than people." "Don't lecture me about the Omnitrix," Ben snapped. "You never understood what it meant. What it made me. Without it, I'm nothing." "That's not true," Max insisted, taking another step closer. "You were chosen for the Omnitrix because of who you already were, Ben. A good kid with a good heart. That's still in you, somewhere." For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in Ben's eyes. A shadow of uncertainty, perhaps even longing for the simplicity of the past. Then it was gone, replaced by cold determination. "If you really believe that," Ben said quietly, then you'll stand aside and let me finish. Let me become who I'm meant to be again. Max shook his head sadly. I can't do that, Ben. Not when it means hurting Kevin. Not when it means working with Vilgax. Ben's eyes narrowed. So you know about that. Did you think we wouldn't figure it out? Max asked. Vilgax shows up the same day you attack a strategic location. It doesn't take a Galvan to connect those dots. Then you understand what's at stake, Ben replied. Vilgax has the extraction technology one need. Technology that can safely remove the OMNITRIX energy from Kevin without killing him. A half-truth at best, but Ben had convinced himself it was possible. And you believe Vilgax will just hand it over to you? Max's voice was incredulous. Ben, he's using you. Once he has Kevin, once he has the OMNITRIX power, he'll dispose of you without a second thought. I'm not as naive as you think, Ben countered, subtly shifting his position to access a secondary control. I know exactly what Vilgax is, and I have contingencies. Max noticed the movement and raised his blaster slightly. Step away from the controls, Ben. Please. I don't want to do this. Ben smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I know you don't, Grandpa. That's why I'm going to win. He slammed his hand down on the secondary control. Instantly, the lights flickered as emergency protocols activated, not the ones he'd planned, but a backup he'd prepared for just this scenario. Barriers slammed down, separating sections of the control room. One such barrier dropped between Ben and Max, cutting them off from each other. Ben! Max shouted, striking the transparent but impenetrable barrier with the butt of his blaster. Don't do this. I'm sorry, Grandpa, Ben said, and for once, he actually meant it. But I have to finish what I started. He turned back to the main terminal, completing the power rerouting sequence. Across Bellwood, strategic sections of the power grid began to fail, creating the electromagnetic disruption exactly where and when he needed it. Where Kevin and Vilgax would be facing off. Where Ben would finally reclaim what was his. Kevin felt the ripple of wrongness a split second before it hit. The energy lines on his skin flickered, dimmed, as if responding to some invisible threat. Gwen, he called to his partner, who was coordinating with plumber agents as they established a perimeter around Vilgax's landed ship. Something's happening. Gwen turned, concern immediately visible on her face as she saw the fluctuation in his energy pattern. What is it? Are you okay? Don't know. It feels like, the wave hit before he could finish. Not physical, nothing he could see or touch, but he felt it tear through him like a hurricane. The OMNITRIX energy within him screamed in protest, the carefully balanced integration destabilizing in an instant. Kevin dropped to his knees with a cry of pain, his body involuntarily shifting between partial transformations as the energy went haywire. An arm became heat blasts, then diamond heads, then human again. His leg transformed to XLR8s, then reverted. The energy lines on his skin pulsed erratically, like a heart in fibrillation. Kevin. Gwen was at his side instantly, mana flowing from her hands as she tried to stabilize him. What's happening? EMP, Kevin managed through gritted teeth. Targeted at OMNITRIX frequency. Understanding dawned in Gwen's eyes. Ben. He's disrupting your powers. Kevin nodded, fighting to regain control. The Genesis seed enhancement was helping. Without it, he suspected the attack would have completely severed his connection to the OMNITRIX energy. As it was, he could feel the integration trying to restabilize, but it was a struggle against the continuing waves of disruption. Perfect timing, a new voice observed. Deep, threatening, triumphant. Kevin looked up to see Vilgax approaching, having emerged from his ship while Kevin was incapacitated. Up close, the alien warlord was even more imposing, over 9 feet tall, massively muscled, with technology integrated into his body that hummed with deadly purpose. Plumber agents opened fire, energy weapons blazing. Vilgax didn't even bother dodging. The blast struck a personal shield around him, dissipating harmlessly. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm me," Vilgax announced, still advancing. "Stand aside, or be destroyed." Gwen rose to her feet, placing herself between Vilgax and Kevin. Her hands glowed with intense mana, far more power than she normally channeled. "You're not touching him," she declared, voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. Vilgax actually paused, studying her with what might have been respect. "The anodite hybrid." "Yes, Ben Tennyson mentioned you might prove troublesome." He raised a gauntlet hand, and a wave of force shot outward, invisible but powerful. Gwen's mana shield blocked it, but the impact drove her back several steps, the effort of maintaining the shield evident on her face. "Impressive," Vilgax acknowledged. "But futile." Kevin struggled to his feet, fighting through the pain of his destabilized powers. He managed a partial transformation, his right arm becoming Diamondhead's crystalline form, though flickering unstably. "Run," he told Gwen. "Get back up. I'll hold him off." "I'm not leaving you," Gwen insisted, reinforcing her shield as Vilgax launched another attack. This time, the force was too much. The mana shield shattered, and Gwen was thrown backward, landing hard several yards away. She lay still, momentarily stunned by the impact. "Gwen!" Kevin shouted, fear giving him the strength to complete his transformation into a hybrid battle form despite the ongoing disruption. He charged Vilgax, channeling all four of Forearm's fists into a devastating combination of blows. The alien warlord blocked most, but one connected solidly with his jaw, causing him to stagger slightly. "You have spirit," Vilgax said, sounding almost pleased. "Good. Breaking you will be more satisfying." Kevin had no time to respond before Vilgax countered with a punch of his own, a single blow with enough force behind it to send Kevin flying backward, his hybrid form flickering. As he crashed into a parked plumber vehicle. The impact nearly knocked him unconscious. Kevin fought to stay aware, to maintain his transformation, but the combination of the electromagnetic disruption and Vilgax's raw power was overwhelming. His body reverted to human form against his will, the energy lines dim and erratic. Vilgax approached methodically, in no hurry now that his prey was weakened. Around them, plumber agents continued their assault, to no effect. Some tried to reach Gwen, who was beginning to stir, but Vilgax's drones, small, deadly machines that had deployed from his ship, kept them at bay. "The OMNITRIX power suits you poorly," Vilgax observed, standing over Kevin. "A crude integration, despite the Arbora modification. In my possession, it will achieve its true potential." Kevin tried to transform again, managing only to turn one hand into a weak approximation of Heatblast's form. He launched a fireball that dissipated harmlessly against Vilgax's shield. Pathetic, Vilgax grabbed Kevin by the throat, lifting him effortlessly. But expected. The power was never meant for human use, let alone human absorption. As Kevin struggled for air, Vilgax produced a device from within his armor, something that looked disturbingly like both Ben's extraction tool and the Huntsman's collection technology. "This will hurt," Vilgax informed him casually. "Significantly." He pressed the device against Kevin's chest, where the energy lines were most concentrated. Pain unlike anything Kevin had experienced before, worse even than the initial absorption of the OMNITRIX, tore through him. He screamed, body convulsing as the device began to extract the OMNITRIX energy directly from his cells. Through the haze of agony, Kevin saw green energy flowing into Vilgax's device. His life, his power, being drained away. The carefully balanced integration the Genesis seed had created was unraveling, causing cascade failures throughout his system. He was dying. He could feel it. A massive blast of pink energy struck Vilgax from behind. The warlord staggered, his grip on Kevin loosening just enough for him to fall to the ground, gasping for air. The extraction device disconnected, though not before it had taken a significant portion of the OMNITRIX energy. "Get away from him." Gwen shouted, her entire body now glowing with mana, eyes blazing pink with power Kevin had never seen her display before. Vilgax turned to face this new threat, genuinely surprised by the force of her attack. You continue to exceed expectations, child. Perhaps I should collect you as well. Try it, Gwen challenged, gathering more energy between her hands. Kevin struggled to move, to help, but his body refused to cooperate. The partial extraction had left him devastated, energy lines flickering like a dying light bulb. He couldn't transform, couldn't even stand. Vilgax and Gwen clashed in earnest now, magical energy against alien technology. She was holding her own, barely, calling upon levels of power that seemed to surprise even her. But Kevin could see she was burning through her reserves too quickly. Against Vilgax's seemingly limitless resources, it was a battle of attrition she couldn't win. And in the distance, a new figure approached, one wearing distinctive armor glowing with stolen Omnitrix energy. Ben had arrived. Ben observed the battle from a vantage point atop a nearby building, taking in the tactical situation with practiced efficiency. Vilgax had managed to extract some of the Omnitrix energy from Kevin, exactly as planned. The warlord was now engaged with Gwen, who was displaying impressive but ultimately unsustainable power levels. And Kevin lay vulnerable, weakened, the perfect target. Part of Ben, a part he usually kept carefully locked away, felt a twinge of something like guilt as he watched his cousin fighting desperately against an overwhelmingly powerful enemy. As he saw Kevin, once his greatest nemesis, lying helpless and in pain. But he pushed the feeling aside. This was what he'd been working toward for 6 months. The moment when everything would be set right. Ben activated his armor's enhanced capabilities, channeling the small amount of Omnitrix energy he'd managed to extract during their previous encounter. His right arm transformed partially into a crystalline form similar to Diamond Head's, while his left took on characteristics of Heat Blast. Not as complete or stable as Kevin's transformations, but effective enough for his purposes. He leapt from the building, using the armor's flight capabilities to control his descent, landing between the battling Vilgax and Gwen and the incapacitated Kevin. Ben. Gwen's voice was a complex mixture of anger, relief, and desperate hope. Help me stop him. Ben didn't answer her directly. Instead, he addressed Vilgax while keeping his eyes on Kevin. You got what we agreed on. Vilgax held up the device containing the extracted energy. A portion. Not all. The integration is more complex than anticipated. Enough to complete my work? Ben asked. Sufficient for your primitive efforts, yes. Gwen's expression shifted from hope to horrified understanding. Ben, no. Tell me you're not really working with him. Ben finally looked at his cousin. I told you I'd do whatever it takes, Gwen. I meant it. He's Vilgax. Gwen shouted, incredulous. He's tried to kill us. Kill you. Multiple times. And now he's helping me, Ben replied calmly. That's how alliances work. It's not an alliance, Kevin managed to say, his voice weak but defiant as he pushed himself up to a sitting position. It's him using you, Tennyson. Just like he tried to use me years ago. Ben's head snapped toward Kevin. What? Ask him, Kevin challenged, nodding toward Vilgax. Ask him what happens after he gets all the Omnitrix energy. After he has what he really wants. Ben turned to Vilgax, doubt flickering across his features for the first time. Well? Vilgax studied Ben for a moment, then laughed, a sound like grinding metal. The thief speaks truth, of course. Did you truly believe I would allow you to possess even a fraction of the Omnitrix power once it was extracted? You, a primitive human child. The betrayal, while expected, still stung. Ben's partially transformed hands clenched into fists. We had a deal. I have altered the deal, Vilgax replied dismissively. Be grateful I allow you to live, Benjamin Tennyson. For now. Ben's armor hummed as he channeled more power, preparing for combat. Big mistake. Vilgax seemed amused by the threat. Your grandfather failed to teach you proper respect, I see. Perhaps I shall remedy that before I depart with my prize. He gestured toward Kevin. Gwen moved to Kevin's side, helping him to his feet while maintaining a mana shield around them both. Ben, whatever issues you have with Kevin, with us, Vilgax is the enemy. He always has been. Ben found himself at a crossroads. Months of planning, of single-minded focus on reclaiming the Omnitrix, had led to this moment. But the path forward had suddenly fragmented into impossible choices. Fight Vilgax, protecting Kevin, the very person who had stolen his powers, his identity. Or stay the course, somehow trying to claim the Omnitrix energy for himself while Vilgax sought the same prize. The decision was made for him when Vilgax, tired of waiting, attacked. A devastating blast from the warlord's gauntlet struck the ground between them, sending all three humans flying in different directions. Plumber agents, who had been maintaining a perimeter, rushed in to provide covering fire, but Vilgax swatted them aside like insects. Ben recovered first, his armor absorbing much of the impact. He launched a counterattack, crystalline projectiles from his diamond head arm combined with fire blasts from his heat blast transformation. The assault struck Vilgax's shield, creating a momentary distortion, not enough to penetrate, but enough to draw the warlord's attention. You dare challenge me? Vilgax roared, genuine anger replacing his previous amusement. After I showed you mercy? Wouldn't be the first time, Ben shot back, circling to keep Vilgax focused on him rather than Kevin and Gwen. But usually I had the real Omnitrix, not this knockoff version. Vilgax charged, faster than his massive form suggested possible. Ben barely dodged, using his armor's enhanced reflexes to slide under the attack and deliver a burning punch to Vilgax's side. The warlord grunted in what might have been surprise but showed no real sign of injury. Your previous victories were flukes, Vilgax declared, turning to face Ben again. Aided by the full power of the Omnitrix. Without it, you are nothing. The words cut deeper than any physical attack could have. They echoed Ben's own darkest thoughts, his deepest fears. Nothing without the Omnitrix. Nothing without the power that had defined him. Maybe, Ben acknowledged, something shifting in his expression. But I'm still Ben Tennyson. He launched another attack, this one more coordinated, using his armor systems to analyze Vilgax's shield harmonics and target potential weaknesses. It wasn't as good as having the Omnitrix's full capabilities, but it was something. It was his. Across the battlefield, Kevin watched the exchange with growing awareness. Ben was fighting Vilgax, genuinely fighting him, not working with him. Whatever alliance they'd had was clearly broken. And despite everything, despite 6 months of enmity, Kevin found himself hoping Ben would win. We need to help him, Kevin said to Gwen, trying again to access his transformation abilities. The energy lines on his skin flickered weakly in response, but nothing happened. Vilgax has too much of the Omnitrix energy now. Ben can't beat him alone. Gwen looked torn, her loyalties divided between her cousin and the boy who had become her partner, perhaps more. You're too weak. If you try to fight now, if I don't, Kevin cut her off, we all lose. Ben loses. Earth loses. He gripped her hand. Gwen, please. Help me stabilize what's left of the energy. Gwen hesitated only briefly before nodding. I'll try. But I've never done anything like this before. She placed her hands on Kevin's chest, where the energy lines were most concentrated. Pink mana flowed from her fingers, interacting with the flickering blue-green patterns. Kevin gasped as he felt her power touch the Omnitrix energy directly, not trying to control it, but harmonizing with it, supporting it like a splint supports a broken limb. The effect was immediate. The erratic fluctuation steadied. The dim glow brightened. Not to full strength, not even close, Vilgax had taken too much for that, but enough that Kevin could feel his connection to the power stabilizing. It's working, he said, focusing on the feeling. With careful concentration, he managed a partial transformation, his arms taking on aspects of Diamond Head's crystalline structure, though less defined than usual. Not full power, but it'll have to do. Gwen helped him to his feet, her own reserves clearly depleted from the dual effort of fighting Vilgax and helping Kevin. What's the plan? Kevin watched as Ben and Vilgax continued their battle, the human holding his own through sheer determination and tactical creativity but clearly outmatched. Plumber agents had regrouped, providing supporting fire where possible, but their weapons remained ineffective against Vilgax's defenses. The extraction device, Kevin decided. Vilgax still has it. If we can get it back, maybe we can reverse the process. Return the energy he stole. And if we can't? Kevin's expression hardened. Then we make sure he doesn't get the rest of it. Whatever it takes. They moved toward the battle, Kevin's movements slow but determined. Each step seemed to help stabilize his condition further, as if the physical action reinforced his mental control over the remaining Omnitrix energy. Ben saw them approaching and adjusted his tactics, drawing Vilgax's attention away from their approach. It was a subtle move, one Kevin might not have noticed a few months ago. But now, with battle experience of his own, he recognized it for what it was, Ben giving them an opening. Despite everything, they were still working together when it counted. Kevin transformed his right arm fully into XLR8s, gaining a boost of speed that allowed him to dart in close to Vilgax while the warlord was focused on Ben. With his left arm, now Diamond Head's, he struck at the device secured to Vilgax's armor, where the stolen Omnitrix energy glowed green. The crystalline arm shattered against Vilgax's shield, pain shooting through Kevin as the transformation failed. But he'd achieved his goal, Vilgax's attention was now divided. The thief returns, Vilgax observed, backhanding Kevin with enough force to send him tumbling across the pavement. Eager to contribute the remainder of the Omnitrix energy to my collection. Ben used the distraction to launch his most powerful attack yet, a combination of every alien ability his armor could simulate, channeled into a single concentrated blast. The impact caused Vilgax's shield to flicker visibly, the warlord actually taking a half step back from the force. "You're not collecting anything today, Vilgax," Ben declared. "Except maybe a beating, for old time's sake." Gwen added her own attack, mana bolt striking from a third angle, further taxing Vilgax's defenses. The warlord growled in frustration, clearly not having anticipated such coordinated resistance. "Enough!" Vilgax roared, activating something on his gauntlet. The device holding the stolen Omnitrix energy began to pulse, interfacing directly with Vilgax's armor. Green energy flowed into his systems, and his body began to change, growing larger, more powerful, with characteristics of various alien species clearly visible. He's using the energy, Kevin realized with horror. Transforming himself. Not for long, Ben countered, pressing his attack despite the increasingly hopeless odds. Kevin struggled to his feet again, drawing on reserves he didn't know he had. The remaining Omnitrix energy within him responded to his desperate need, coalescing into a more stable configuration. Not full power, not even close, but focused. Concentrated on a single purpose. "Gwen," he called. "I need your help one more time." She was at his side instantly, exhausted but determined. "Tell me what to do." "Channel your mana through me," Kevin instructed, remembering techniques the Genesis seed had shown him, Arbora methods of energy amplification. "Directly into what's left of the Omnitrix energy. I think I can create a feedback loop with what Vilgax stole." Gwen's eyes widened with understanding. "You want to destabilize the energy he's using." "Exactly. But I can't do it alone. Not like this." Without hesitation, Gwen placed her hands on Kevin's shoulders, channeling what remained of her magical reserves directly into his system. The sensation was incredible, like being connected to a live wire, but instead of pain, there was only power. Purpose. Kevin focused on the stolen energy now flowing through Vilgax, using his unique connection, his status as the original absorption point, to reach out and touch it. To remind it of where it belonged. Come back, he whispered, extending his hand toward Vilgax. The warlord, in the midst of his transformation, faltered. The green energy flowing through his system stuttered, fluctuated. Recognition passed between energy that had once been unified, now forcibly separated. What is this? Vilgax demanded, feeling the disruption. What are you doing? Kevin didn't answer, pouring all his concentration into the connection. Gwen's mana amplified his reach, creating a bridge between the energy within him and the energy Vilgax had stolen. Ben, recognizing what they were attempting, adjusted his attack to target the extraction device directly. It's over, Vilgax. The Omnitrix energy was never meant for you. Vilgax roared in defiance, fighting against the growing instability in his systems. I am Vilgax, conqueror of 10 worlds. I will not be denied by children. The extraction device began to glow brighter, dangerously so. Vilgax's partial transformation accelerated, but without the control and integration the device was supposed to provide. Alien features appeared and disappeared across his body in chaotic succession, power surging uncontrollably. It's working, Gwen gasped, the effort of maintaining the connection clearly taking its toll. But I can't hold it much longer. Kevin nodded grimly. You don't have to. Just a little more. The connection between Kevin's remaining energy and the stolen portion strengthened, feedback growing more intense by the second. Vilgax's armor began to spark and smoke, systems overloading from the conflicting energies. No, the warlord bellowed, reaching for the extraction device as if to tear it free. Too late. The device exploded in a blinding flash of green light, the shockwave knocking everyone off their feet. Kevin lost his connection to Gwen, both of them thrown in opposite directions. Ben, closest to Vilgax, took the brunt of the blast, his armor absorbing much of it but still leaving him dazed. When the light faded and the dust settled, Vilgax lay in a smoking crater, his armor in ruins, body reverted to its normal form. The extraction device was gone, completely destroyed. And with it, the stolen Omnitrix energy. Gone. Not returned to Kevin. Simply gone. Kevin staggered to his feet, feeling the loss immediately. The energy lines on his skin were dimmer now, permanently reduced by the significant portion Vilgax had managed to extract before they stopped him. He could still transform, he could feel that much, but his powers would never be what they had been at their peak. Did we win? Gwen asked weakly, accepting Kevin's help to stand. Kevin surveyed the scene, Vilgax down but not necessarily out, Ben slowly regaining his feet, plumber agents moving in to secure the area. Not sure winning is the right word, Kevin replied. But we stopped him. Ben approached them cautiously, his armor damaged but functional, transformed arms having reverted to normal with the explosion's disruption. His expression was unreadable behind his face shield, which he retracted after a moment's hesitation. Vilgax, he asked simply. Alive, Kevin confirmed. But the Omnitrix energy he stole is gone. Destroyed in the feedback explosion. Something like pain crossed Ben's face, another chance at reclaiming his power, lost. But he nodded, accepting the information without the rage Kevin might have expected months ago. And yours? Ben asked, nodding toward the dimmer energy lines on Kevin's skin. Reduced. Permanently, I think. Kevin flexed his hand, summoning a partial diamond head transformation that came slower, less complete than before. Still functional, but less. An uncomfortable silence fell between them, former enemies, briefly allies against a common threat, now uncertain of where they stood. Gwen broke it. Ben, come back with us. Please. Whatever's happened, whatever's changed, we can figure it out together. As a family. Ben's expression softened at his cousin's plea. For a moment, Kevin thought he might actually agree. Then Ben's gaze shifted to Kevin, to the energy lines that, even diminished, represented everything Ben had lost. I can't, Ben said quietly. Not yet. Not while. He trailed off, but the meaning was clear. Not while Kevin still had what Ben considered his. The Omnitrix chose me, Ben continued, a statement he'd made countless times over the past 6 months, but somehow different now. Less angry, more resigned. But I chose what I became after I lost it. He looked down at his gauntlets, at the technology he'd built to replace what was taken. That's on me. It was the closest thing to an acknowledgement of responsibility Kevin had heard from Ben since this all began. Not quite remorse, but awareness. Understanding of how far he'd fallen. It doesn't have to be the end, Kevin found himself saying. The road back, it's hard, but I know something about it. Ben actually smiled at that, though it didn't reach his eyes. I bet you do. He took a step back, then another, distancing himself physically and symbolically. Take care of him, Gwen, Ben said to his cousin. Make sure he uses the power better than I did. Before either of them could respond, Ben activated his armor's flight systems and took to the air, accelerating away from the battlefield, from the fallen Vilgax, from the choice he wasn't ready to make. He'll be back, Gwen said softly, watching her cousin disappear into the distance. Someday. Kevin nodded, hoping she was right. Hoping the glimpse of the old Ben they'd seen today wasn't just a temporary alignment of interests against Vilgax, but the first step towards something more. Plumber agents had surrounded Vilgax now, specialized containment fields activating to secure the unconscious warlord. Max Tennyson had arrived as well, surveying the scene with the practiced eye of someone who had seen too many battles. Ben? He asked simply as he approached Kevin and Gwen. Gone, Gwen answered. But, different, I think. Changed by what happened here. Max nodded, understanding in his eyes. And Vilgax? Contained, Kevin reported. The extraction device was destroyed, along with the Omnitrix energy he stole. Max's gaze shifted to the dimmer energy lines on Kevin's skin. And you? Kevin flexed his hand again, transforming it partway into Heatblast's form, slower, less complete than before. But still functional. Reduced capacity. But I'll manage. I never doubted that, Max said, genuine respect in his voice. You've come a long way, Kevin Levin. The simple acknowledgement meant more to Kevin than he could express. 6 months ago, he'd been a street criminal, using his powers for personal gain, trusting no one. Now he stood as a plumber deputy, having faced down one of the galaxy's most dangerous beings alongside people he'd once considered enemies. People who were now, what? Colleagues? Friends? Family? All of the above, perhaps. As cleanup operations began around them, Kevin found a quiet moment with Gwen away from the chaos. She looked exhausted but satisfied, the double effort of fighting Vilgax and helping Kevin having drained her reserves. Thanks, Kevin said simply. For the assist. For believing in me. For everything. Gwen smiled, some of the fatigue fading from her features. That's what partners do. Partners, Kevin repeated, testing the word. Is that what we are? Among other things, Gwen replied, a hint of something more in her voice. She reached out, tracing one of the energy lines on his face gently. You know, they're still beautiful. Even dimmer. Kevin caught her hand, holding it against his cheek for a moment. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm almost glad it happened. The absorption. Everything that came after. Even with Ben. Gwen couldn't quite finish the question. Even with that, Kevin confirmed. He'll find his way back eventually. Just like I did. Sometimes you have to hit bottom before you can start climbing. Gwen leaned into him slightly, drawing comfort from his presence. When did you get so wise? Kevin laughed softly. Must be all those alien genetics rewiring my brain. Their moment was interrupted by Max's call for assistance with Vilgax's transport. Duty called, as it always would now. The responsibility Kevin had once resented had become something he valued, something that gave his life meaning beyond survival. As they rejoined the plumber operation, Kevin glanced up at the sky where Ben had disappeared. Somewhere out there, his former enemy was reassessing, recalibrating, perhaps even reconsidering the path he'd chosen. The hero had become the villain. The villain had become the hero. And somewhere in between, they'd both discovered truths about themselves they never expected to find. Kevin touched the energy lines on his arm, feeling the power, diminished but still present, still his, pulse in response. Not stolen anymore. Earned, through pain and growth and choices that had shaped him into something better than he'd been before. Ready? Gwen asked, prepared to move out. Kevin nodded, transforming partially into a hybrid form that felt right for the moment, strong enough for the task ahead, but still recognizably himself. Ready, he confirmed. And he was, for whatever came next in this strange, reversed life he now led. Kevin Levin, once thief, now hero, stepped forward into his future. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.